show. Always Irish show. Always Irish show. Sometimes it's good to just yell about football. What are you doing? Don't do this to me, Harry! The Ohio State. It's Ohio State! What do you mean, the? It's a poison. I almost stroked out and died over it. I'm glad to be at the party. I'm mad we're this late. You ain't a captain of nothing but a sinking ship. That helps the defense without them even doing a damn thing. Doing a damn thing. The call-in line. 312-988-15. You tell Johnny all you've heard and seen. Oh, Irish. Oh, Irish. Oh, Irish. Oh, Irish. Irish. Yeah. That's right. Welcome in. Welcome back, folks, to a Work It Out, Walk It Out Wednesday. Beautiful, beautiful day in the greater Chicagoland area. Humidity down, blue skies. It's a nice early summer day. Put me in a good mood. It's got me in a good mood. So don't bring me down. Okay? Although, I got a couple kind of tough things I want to go over today. And so we're going to see how this goes. I got a little monologue here I might have to deliver. We'll see the tenor of the situation in the room, and we'll see where we're going to go. You know what's going to happen on a Wednesday. Surrogate, always Irish grandfather, Dr. John's going to call in. We got Rodney on the line too. It's been a while since I connected with him. Want to hear what is on his mind. A lot of interesting chats too. A little brighter than Mondays. Let's put it that way. So some interesting chats there that we're going to touch on. Phone lines are open. Feel free. You know what I say. When you get into the summer months, there ain't much cracking. Call me whatever you want. Whatever you want to talk about. It's the Always Irish Counseling Hotline. You could free associate. Talk about whatever you need to. J Carr. One more lawn mowing and John's skin tone will be identical to that t-shirt. I'm telling you, for a guy with naturally auburn reddish hair, I get really dark. You could argue a lot of it's gray now, thanks to a guy in Louisiana. A lot of it's gray, but I get dark. And I'm mowing without a shirt. I got a pool, man. It's been like 95 degrees in Illinois. What do you think I do? I'm sitting by the pool. So that's what the deal is with that. Good to see everybody here. The Chief, it's good to see Brandon down repping Notre Dame down in Atlanta. Now, I do miss you from the South Bend area, though. Brandon, I miss you. I like knowing when I go to South Bend, I can text you and we can hang out or do something. So it does hurt me a little bit that you're down there. Oh, man. Chief, I'm sorry. I'm just telling you the truth. I know where my hair loss comes from, and it's not genetics fully. Don't tell me you know more than I do why my hair's falling out. You might argue you're entering old age. You might argue that you stress out too much. No, I'm telling you where to find the answer. I know it's a ridiculous theory, but I honestly feel like 6 years are cut out of my lifespan due to some of the stuff that went on, man. I don't know. Give me a break. All right, let's get through the introductions. I highlighted a bunch of chats I want to go over. And so we'll probably see what the callers have. And then when we have a little break, we'll go back to the chats. Then we'll get into some of my notes here. Okay. So obviously, thanks for being here. It means the world to me, you guys. We're in the middle of the summer. There's not a lot of football action. Anybody that chooses to be here, it does mean a lot to me. It's wild. In the summer, man, there's a certain percentage of people that are just checked out. And then when August comes, they get it all cranked up and come back. They all come back to Johnny Boy. So those of you that stay year round are the ones that make this all work, even in the off season. I sincerely appreciate your loyalty. I really do. John's hairline is driving a jet ski down the bayou. Yeah, I mean, I wish I could say there was a mullet blowing in the air when I'm doing my little wave runner tricks, but it just isn't going to happen for me, Eric. By the way, Eric, College Huddle, Eric's project that I'm helping with, that I'm a part of. Go check it out, you guys. He's putting in a lot of work, and there's a lot of people working really hard on content all over the country, all the different teams, everything. In fact, I got John Dirt. I love that. Oh, man. Dude, I was Joe Dirt for Halloween all through college, man. Cut off jean shorts, a flannel, just the whole thing, mullet, wig. And I'm out there drinking and I'm dancing and everything in my mullet wig. It's amazing. You could ask Angela for verification. Actually, don't ask Angela for verification, because she's probably got photographic evidence of Johnny in his Joe Dirt outfit from college that she could hold hostage on me. So I don't know if I want to go there or not. Twitter, search bar Always Irish or at Always Irish Inc. Emails alwaysirishnd@gmail.com. Audio only, anywhere you want it. You could get it if you don't want to see my face. Nobody in the world blames you for that one. The Colin lines. You know what they is. 312-900-8815. You dialed up. Tell Uncle Johnny all you've heard and seen. Instagram, Facebook, Always Irish Inc. Irish Wire. You could read all about it there. If you don't want to see me and you don't want to hear me, you could read me. I got you surrounded all different ways. Patreon.com/Always Irish. Perhaps if you're interested in seeing my Patreon partner, Mike Goolsby, leading tackler, captain, by the way. If you want to see him break down Gordy's film and give some insight into what he sees, you got to go to Patreon for that. And that's what we got Mike breaking it all down. And the way he does, he don't hold nothing back. You get the truth, the full truth, and nothing but the truth from Captain Mike. And that's why he's my partner. I love it. It's beautiful. Thanks for everybody over there. Yeah, gaining some people back here as momentum's building in the summer. Really appreciate the new people joining. Means the world to me. Oh, boy. All right. Give me a break. Irish Wire, also known as John's Unhinged Thoughts Journaled. You know what, you guys? I'll be honest about the Irish Wire. It's very healthy for me to process some of this Notre Dame stuff through writing form. Does that make sense? It triggers a different part of your brain when you're writing something than when you just hit play and then you yell it, and that's my natural delivery because words come to my brain quickly, whatever. It really is healthy for me to sit there and write it out because it's not immediate, and whatever the first thing you think is, it's out. You literally have to sit in front of your computer and think about, how do I want to phrase this to get my point across so people are thinking of it the way, like I want to challenge your mind in the right way to think about this bullet point or whatever. It's very healthy for me. Like I could feel my brain switching from content on air video to writing. It's a totally different part of my brain, and I really enjoy it. It's a healthy exercise for me to type out my thoughts in a different way. And I'm appreciative of that opportunity. And that website's growing a lot. And I'm happy and grateful to be a part of it. Okay, let's do a couple early chats. Then we'll go right to the callers. And then when we have a little break, I'll get into some of my stuff. Okay. Look at this. Writing is just the wine and cheese side of John. No, you know what though? I'll be honest, when I started that gig, 2.5 years, something like that. When I started writing, there were a few people that emailed me after the first couple articles went out, and they were like, wow, John, I didn't know you could write. Like, I was kind of flattered, but kind of offended. They were like, I didn't know you could write. I'm like, well, what do you mean? If you could read, you could write, right? I'm like, I don't know whether to be offended because my video content made people think all I could do is yell and I couldn't put it together on paper. But I'm telling you, it's a healthy challenge for my brain. It's just a totally different side of content with a different tone, and you have to lay things out. Think about how you want this to feel and come off at people. Send them down a path where you know it's going to trigger them to think about a certain thing in a certain way. It's a real unique challenge. My opinion, it's way harder than this. For me personally, it's way harder than this. This is easy. It just comes out. I don't think about it. Whatever it's a reaction. And I've been doing it so long. I almost always have something to say. It just comes out. Writing's different, man. You really got to think about how you want to do it and do it the right way. Like, writing's tough. I don't think I could just write. It's tough. And it's not my natural delivery method. That's for sure. I've learned that. It's way harder for me to write that than record anything. So, Chief, you're riding me today. What did you switch over into Commander Luke's account? You're riding me today. That's 2. You want to be the producer? Give me a break on a Wednesday morning. Let's get through these chats. Yeah, you're laughing. I know what you're doing. That's twice already in 10 minutes. You want to be the producer and break down my segments and keep me on track? Go for it. Mark with glasses. BK goes to LSU and praises being able to play USC. Hilarious, by the way. That's why you come to LSU. Yeah, to play USC. You couldn't find that anywhere else you coached, right? Now they're trying to play a game in Ireland. Sounds like he's trying to run it back. He's even losing games just to feel like he's still in ND. It is funny, though. I'm starting to see some disturbing trends. When you start feeling the heat, what do? You revert back to the way you were, what you know, what's comfortable. Talking about USC, going to Ireland, and complaining about resources. I'm telling you, danger time. When you start feeling the heat, you walk right back down to your old street. I'm telling you, we're going to the old bag of tricks, baby. Oh, Eric, I wanted to talk about this. Coming to the calls right up. I'm coming to you. Interesting. Greg McElroy, during an On3 interview, only gave Marcus a 10% chance to win a championship while at ND during any season. I saw this. I read this. I saved the article to either bring up on a stream or do a standalone video on. Here's what McElroy did. He was able to appear to be very respectful and complimentary of Marcus Freeman and Notre Dame in a lot of ways, while defending the 10% chance he's giving them to win a national title. This was not SEC guy dumping on Notre Dame. This was not that. He was very particular about his wording and multiple times added in things to say, I'm not saying Freeman's doing a bad job. He's doing a good job. He pumped up Notre Dame as much as he could for the hook to be, I'm only giving him a 10% chance to win a championship. And let's be honest, didn't see the article. The reason he gave for the 10% low number is it's an argument we have discussed here and other Notre Dame content people have covered as well. It's the idea of what are the odds even a great above average Notre Dame team is going to win 4 games in a row against top 12 competition. And that's a fair, I'm being honest here. I'm always fair. Even the stuff that I'm like mad at, or I always have a reason. I say that all the time. Nothing I do is random. You might not agree with me. You may think I'm overdoing the emotion I have, but it's all from a real place with real logic behind why I go off on stuff. It's a real thing. It's a real thing. People, it's like, we haven't won a major bowl game since Johnny was a little kid. What makes you think even a good Notre Dame team's going to win 4 in a row in a month? It's a lot to ask. That part is a fair question. He was saying, are they going to have the depth it takes to run through a playoff field, the top 12 teams? I'm like, are they going to have the depth and the high-end talent, whatever? So I don't know how he comes at his percentages. That's a little clickbaity when you get into like the odds percentages, why like you're guessing at that. But I share some of his concerns about like, what are the odds? Even a good Notre Dame team's going to win 4 in a row in a month. I don't know. Maybe you think it's high if we have a really good team, catch a good seeding and whatever, make some moves. I don't know. But he tried to balance it out both ways. He really did. Sly Fox. A&M D-line is stout. Little concerned about the revamp on the O-line. Hopefully Denbrock can account for that with great play calling. Yep. This may be the when I think about the A&M, excuse me, when I think about the A&M matchup, this is where my mind goes first. This is where my mind goes first. Is Notre Dame's redone offensive line going to be ready for that moment when I would argue the most reliable strength of A&M's team is up front and those like rush edges and getting after the quarterback? This is probably my number one concern. And I've said it before. I'm going to say it again. I think Denbrock is going to have a plan going into the game, what he wants to run. He's going to have another plan for the O-line's totally overwhelmed. We got to try something. I got to scrap the ideal situation, and I got to go to option B because our guys are getting bombarded and they don't have an answer out there. And it's rough and it's loud and it's hot and it's a dangerous environment. I think he will have a set of plays to go to try and slow that down if he sees early that it's a problem. That is a feature you get with Mike Denbrock. You didn't get out of Parker, where it was like, oh, they have 50 guys in the box at the line of scrimmage. I know what we're going to run. A run play right into 50 guys. And we're going to run it because we're just going to run it. And I don't care if there's 90 guys in the box. I'm just going to run into it anyways. That's what you got last year. And so that's going to be a big difference. A big difference. Oh, boy. Andrew, considering the past 36 years, 10% pretty decent. Till Michigan won it all, I thought it would be nearly impossible to win based on geography. All the best recruits are Southern. Yeah. Andrew, there's something to that. As much as we all don't like it, or maybe it's, I know it's me more than a lot of people, to the extent I dislike Michigan. You got to admit there's a little something to that as far as O-line driven, D-line driven programs winning a championship, not having the flashy 5-star Georgia and Ohio State recruits and being able to get that done. That is a new path to consider that wasn't in the ether, you know, when the normal suspects were winning every year or whatever. Certainly they had some advantages that I disagree with, but you can't argue when they got on the field, they road graded people on both sides of the ball. That's O-line, D-line driven championship level football, along with the high school schedule, except for like 1.5 games and, you know, laser vision in the crowds. But on the field, that's the model, and they proved it worked. It was the perfect storm for Michigan. Light schedule last year without the expanded playoff. You just had to win 2 games. Little cheating action, bad teams in the Big Ten. You got to win one tough game. It was perfect for them. Look at this. My word. Bachelor party number 2 starts tomorrow. Lots of golf to be played. To prep, I've been watching Rick Shields, but I think I'd benefit the most from some BK film. Rick Shields does a really good job. And that channel's grown a lot. I've watched him for a very, very long time going over all the golf stuff. It's 2 bachelor parties back to back. I'm glad you're in your 20s. I'm too old for that, man. I'm just too old to hang at that level, I think. It's unbelievable. Sly Fox. It didn't help strength the schedule when Miami backed out. Yeah, it's an interesting, Miami's an interesting team. Yeah, Andrew's saying that. Probably the biggest wild card. Cristobal and Miami boosters got a ton of talent. Cristobal's meathead, though, yeah. They seem to underperform with more talent, which is not what you're looking for. And that's kind of not ideal for them. You know what, though, I got to say about strength of schedule. Bro, I hear that playoff committee give lip service to talks about the schedule. I've yet to see them actually consequentially get up there and say at the end of the year, I'm not putting this team in the playoff or whatever because their schedule. They talk about it all the time. It never seems to ultimately do anything. So I don't know if I believe it. I heard something about this yesterday. The rumor I heard is the Big Ten may cut a few teams, then try to add ND, Clemson, Florida, Miami to get to 20 teams, all rumors. Here's what I think is going on. Callers, I'm coming to you. Here's what I think is Chief, you didn't have to do that. It's fine. But you've been around long enough. I know what you're saying when you don't directly say it. It's almost a compliment to our relationship because you're just around enough. I know when you say certain things, the tone, like I just pick up on it. We've been around a long time. Here's what I think you're looking at. I think what you're looking at is a scenario where, with this money coming due for these conferences and the way things are shaping, I think the Big Ten is going to get sick of teams that don't carry their weight. I think they're going to get sick of like a Rutgers and stuff because they don't pull their weight. They bring no value. They bring in no money. Nobody cares about their games. It's not must-see TV. Got to go watch the game. Got to be at the game. And I think when you start to get into these arms races, and then when this becomes either a 40 or 50 team major league with only the big teams in it and everybody else doing something else, which is a reality of where this could be added, like 2 mega conferences, north, south, or whatever they're going to do. I feel like the Big Ten might look to cut some dead weight and add some value just to boost everything they're doing. They're going to get sick of dragging dead weight around that brings no money into the conference. And if you bring any of those teams you talked about in, and especially us, you're raising the profile of everything. Think of the power of the Big Ten now, and then add Notre Dame's brand into it. Just think about what that does for the Big Ten. That's why I laugh. That's why I laugh when people say, oh, if Notre Dame tried to join the Big Ten now, they're going to play hardball with them and not let them in and make them jump through a bunch of hoops. No, they're not. No, they're not. They're going to say, yes, come and get that value and make the value of their whole league even more. Their whole thing is being more valuable than the SEC. That's okay. That's their whole thing, is being the most powerful group with the most everything and whatever. That's the Big Ten's goal. If you could cut Rutgers and whatever and put Notre Dame in, you just increase your value by billions of dollars, literally. Literally. Dead weight's like 70% of the conference. But yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, you know what I mean. The very, very low level Big Ten teams that bring no draw, no TV money, no butts in seats. Nobody cares, right? Mikey polls, then we'll get to the calls. John, I saw Napleton's Countryside Mazda took your idea and partnered with CJ Carr for an NIL deal. Smart move. Yeah, if you would have hired me, we could have been 3 years down this path already. Day one, and I was writing out these deals and what they should be. I did a whole article right when NIL became legal saying, why is this so hard? I want Notre Dame's quarterback on billboards driving all through Chicago for the local Mercedes dealer or whatever, and let everybody know it's a big deal and their advantages to being Notre Dame's quarterback. 3 summers ago, I was on this. I don't know why it took us this long to get here. It was the most brain dead idea ever. So, whatever. You were only speaking football. What about basketball, baseball, track, and all that? They don't bring in money. Track. Okay, pump faking. Good to see you. Here's the deal. Outside of a small group of basketball-heavy schools, all those other sports lose everybody money. The football program pays for baseball, pays for track. Now, I understand it's a bigger deal down south. And like LSU baseball is a pretty big deal. People follow it every day. In a way, I don't see attention placed on Notre Dame's baseball, except for the year they were like a World Series contender, a legitimate one a little bit ago. But I'm saying all those things lose money. I'm worried about the stuff that moves the needle, and it's football. And then like 3 schools operate in the profit in basketball. Other than that, football pays for all these other schools, all these other sports, the travel, the hotels, whatever you got to do. Football subsidizes all of that stuff. So it's going to drive everything. It's the moneymaker, baby. And you guys, are you paying attention to this NCAA, the NCAA legal stuff going on? Are you paying attention to this? There's a retroactive lawsuit that's going through the federal court system of former players saying, we want our NIL stuff. Just because you're doing it now, why did you get my labor for free? Now I want to sue you and collect some of that money back. And it looks like the NCAA is going to lose the case in court, which is what they do every time they go to court. Anybody notice that? Every time they go to court, they lose because they operate in their own galaxy. That's not how any other business or anything put together operates. So it ends up falling into a weird situation. 20 to 30 million a year, all of these schools would have to pay legally, that would then be paid out to every guy that jumps on a claim saying, I didn't get proper NIL. I looked it up yesterday. It's like 20 to 30 million a year for a bunch of years. Each team, major Power 5 team or whatever, is going to have to pay out to make up for this, going backwards and retroactively providing name, image, likeness through this lawsuit. Here's where this gets tricky. Where's the cutoff? Where's the cutoff? If you're going to go back in time and retroactively pay guys NIL, how far do you go back? Does Goolsby get to file a claim from the early 2000s? I don't understand legally how you could just say, now the rules changed. I want to benefit from what it was when I was there, but it wasn't a rule. I don't understand how that works. I don't understand how that works legally. But that's what's going on. And you have schools saying 20, 30 million a year we have to pay out. We don't have that capital. We don't have that money. There's a lot of schools like that. They don't have 20, 30 million to pay out year after year to make up for retroactive NIL claims. And so I don't understand how you do this. How can you cut off a year? How can you say jump in this class action lawsuit or whatever to get your piece of the pie up until a certain year going back, and then the guys the year before get no money? I don't understand once you start this, how you end this. So I don't know. I know this is not funny, but I wasn't expecting it, Kent. I'll see if I could get you on the ND claim list. We'll put you on the ND claim list. I just didn't see that coming on a Wednesday morning, dude. Yeah, I quit. I just didn't see that coming, man. If they're gonna go back, I definitely need reparations from back in the day. I just didn't see it coming. But I'm dead serious. I don't know where you make the cutoff on the time frame here. It's just weird. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. But a lot of teams are not going to have money to pay for this stuff. And let's be clear about it. The NCAA is going to lose the lawsuit. They lose every time they're in court. They're incompetent. They're totally incompetent. They're going to lose every which way to Sunday. And then we got to pay guys for Saturday. Chief, $5 hour. This should cover the sarcasm for the week. Probably not. I appreciate you for making amends. Dr. John. And then Rodney coming up after that. What's going on, good doc? Hello. Don't do this to me, doctor. Not on a Wednesday. This is your day to shine, damn it. It's your day to shine. Let's see if it's my phone's or Dr. John's. Rodney, do I got you?
Don't do this to me, Dr. John.
All right.
Don't do this.
No, it's the other way around. I'm relieved to know it's his phone because it means mine's working. So I'm a little bit relieved, Rodney. If I couldn't get you
Dude, I was actually looking forward to coming after John. So who do you have to say? The two Johns.
If
I both had to say,
hey, if I couldn't get you and him, then I'm going to know that it's my problem. So I would rather make Dr. John fix his. Let's just be frank.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I see what you mean. Like by me saying hello, it meant that.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
Damn it.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Call back in, doctor. Man, I want to hear what you got to say. I want what the good doctor prescribes for us bored ND fans this summer, you know?
Yeah. Chief says nothing gets John going worse than the phone's not working. Yeah. You know why? It's bad business. It's hard to have a call-in show where nobody can call in, Chief. Like, and then I get pissed off because I come down here before the show, set things up, make sure everything's live and working. Then I go back upstairs, have my coffee, get the kid ready. And I want it all set up and ready. It's hard to have a call-in show with broken phones. Rodney, what's going on?
You know, man, I called in today, and I really didn't have a topic. I'm like, man, I'll just kind of go with whatever.
Oh, I love that. It's Notre Dame. It's the Notre Dame Free Association Hotline, Rodney. The Free Association Irish Hotline. You let it fly, brother.
Yeah, and I mean, I was listening to your intro, and so I was like, I'll just go off something he talks about in the intro. Why not? And so you got me at the Greg McElroy thing saying 10%. I didn't see that one yet. And I listen to Greg sometimes.
Yeah.
I think he's pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Klatt. I love Josh Pate. They do an excellent job. But Greg, I got to give him credit. He's gotten better. I didn't like him quite at first because I thought he was a little boring, to be quite fair. I'm just kind of bored, but he's gotten better. He's gotten better, man. And he knows his football. He absolutely does. I just sometimes listen to him. It's, kind of like the not quite the polar opposite of listening to you, but he's definitely more in the other realm of things.
Yeah. Now I will say, I read the article carefully. He really went out of his way to say how impressed he is with like what Notre Dame's doing. And he blamed Notre Dame, like not Freeman, but like just Notre Dame, the talent and where it's geographically located isn't a talent-rich laden area and all that. He went out of his way to praise Notre Dame in a lot of ways and then go, okay, 10%.
Yeah, but you know what? And if he's truly being honest, and I think he is, and that's actually, I was like, man, I think that's fair. Let's break down 10%. It's actually a pretty decent number. If you think of it this way, it isn't like just completely balanced over, of the teams there, let's see, maybe 10 of them have a chance, and if each one has an equal chance. Well, 1 out of 10%, 1 out of 10 chance, that's 10%. Okay, but it doesn't necessarily even work that way. I mean, as you know, maybe Georgia has a 30% chance of winning it this year. Ohio State has a 25% chance of winning it that year. When you add up like 4 or 5 teams and then all that's left is 10%, well, that means Notre Dame's probably thinks 6th or 7th in the country, maybe is what he's saying. You know what I'm saying, John? Like each number doesn't represent an equal 10%. So, I mean, maybe I'm thinking about it way too deeply, but I actually think that's a pretty good number. You know what I mean? When you think about it, like, when you're getting 10%, that's a big, huge chunk of that. I guarantee is being caught up with Ohio State and Georgia, and of course, him being an Alabama alum. Although he's always been very fair, I think I think he's always been fair. I'll say that. Like his takes on things, I generally agree with, and I think that's a pretty good one. Again, I didn't see it yet. But I think I know where his mind's probably going to that 10%. And I have to say, I kind of agree.
Yeah. Okay. Let me ask you about this specific part of it, because it is something we've spoken about on this very call-in show. And that is, we've debated it from the beginning with this new playoff. Notre Dame hasn't won a major bowl since I was a little kid. What would make a Notre Dame fan confident that even a good Notre Dame team could win 4 in a row in about a month in a row? And that's a real question. And McElroy in the article talked about depth. Is Notre Dame going to have the depth you need to make it through that kind of a grind late in the season? What do you think about that aspect of it the likelihood of Notre Dame running 4 in a row.
Yeah, I think it's a legitimate point, but I also think like this, John. Again, going back to what I was saying, every fan base is going to look at the team that they got going into it, and man, if we don't get a bye, we're going to have to win 4 in a row. And to get that bye, we most likely would have had to have won our playoff game. Our conference. Oh yeah, we would. So that means we got to win 4 in a row. So every fan base is going to look at the team saying we got to win 4 in a row. Now, if you've done, here's the thing though. Teams like Alabama, teams like Georgia. I wouldn't necessarily say Ohio State, although they've done it once. Have been able to run through that gauntlet and do that. Only a few have done that. Alabama's obviously done it quite a few times. Clemson's done it a couple times. But that's kind of the same situation for everything. We haven't even won a freaking major bowl game in that long. I think it's more a thing of can we beat 4 really, really good teams. Let's be honest, top 14, however it's going to break down in years to come. This year, top 12. That's a tough call for anybody. So it's just like, okay. I'm telling you, John, scheduling is going to become a really interesting scenario over the next several years. How schedules are constructed now. There's a playoff. How do you balance out and also thinking about repeat games our conference is going to want to, and independents like Notre Dame, obviously, going to want to backload those schedules, or are they going to want to maybe put those tough games more in the beginning to middle? So that's number one, not necessarily have rematches then a few weeks later, but also to give you a little momentum at the end when it's going to be more fresh in people's mind. I don't know. It's just going to be really interesting to see how schedules are now. Because in the past, it was rivalry week being an example. Those games were at the end because you needed something to put you in a good enough place in the polls to get that extra boost. Now that really just being about we need to get into this. You know what I mean? Like I'm wondering how this all affects scheduling.
Yeah, and here's something else that's going to affect Notre Dame's scheduling. As these conferences expand, there's less flexibility and they're less to schedule Notre Dame in the non-conference with the way things are shaping up. And that is one advantage of the ACC deal. Even though it's boring and I don't love it, that was an advantage they wanted. That's a part of the reason they did that deal, is to guarantee themselves 5 games built into the schedule to not have to fill out all 12 in a changing landscape where certain teams are turning away from wanting to have a big non-conference matchup and take a loss in this, maybe take a loss in this expanded era. So that was a big selling point for Notre Dame doing this deal, was to have 5 guaranteed weeks.
Well, here's the other thing. I honestly feel like Notre Dame is the one team, and maybe I'm sure Alabama would have that kind of power if they chose to. And most likely Ohio State too, just because of the brand, possibly Michigan. But I'm sure even if they did go to the Big Ten or whatever, if they actually join the ACC full time, I can almost guarantee they would work out some special deal for them where they wouldn't have the same number of conference games everybody else would. Like, okay, we'll join, but we want to play 7 conference games, not 9 or whatever.
Yeah,
they probably have something like that too.
Rodney, I'm telling you, here's where I think this is going to end up. And I don't know how many years it's going to take. I think you might end up with the 40 or 50 teams that are serious about football and have been breaking away from the NCAA, creating their own governance to be able to sidestep, like outside of the NCAA structure. But right now, the playoff has nothing to do with the NCAA. They have nothing to do with it. It's its own entity. I think they're going to sidestep a lot of this legal stuff coming down the road by saying, screw you, NCAA. The big players in this are going to go create their own governing board, their own rules, do their own thing, have their own TV money. And then we don't, you're saying, like, I think that's where this is headed. and you have one big, huge group of like 40, and then it's broken into like two big sections, two big kind of individual conference divisions, if you will. And then you run it that way.
Yeah.
I honestly think that's where this is headed. I don't know how many years, but I think that's their way around this NCAA legal stuff, is saying, we don't need you at all. We're not listening to you. We're bigger than you. We have more power than you. We don't need you. I wouldn't be surprised if that's where this goes. Don't know when.
Yeah, that's the when exactly. It's interesting because, man, I say this a lot, but I don't know that I've been this. Okay. So a few years ago, this is okay. I'm thinking this through as we're talking, man. This is interesting to me to have this thought, because a few years ago, John, I think saw this happening, saw all these things, these changes in college football coming, and I think a lot of us were really worried that it was gonna, if not ruin the sport, it was gonna greatly diminish it. And the fascinating part is, while there's been a lot of, this all needs to be handled better. Actually, better, that's an understatement. And yes, I agree 100%. I believe that is what's going to happen, John, what you just said. It is going to be a few power players getting together and creating their own thing. But as this all is happening, I would actually beg to say college football has gotten a hell of a lot more interesting than it was before. And the game still looks good. It still looks good, man. It's still a good game on the field. There's still those great storylines. Even the Michigan storyline is still a fascinating. Take care, bud. Still a fascinating thing for the college football world. You know what I mean? To have witnessed. It was just, it kept us all glued to our TV sets. And as long as college football remains, must-see TV, now the game's coming out this summer, and I saw your thing on that. And I'm a very casual gamer, John. I love college football games. Love it. Occasionally I'll play a boxing game or something like that, or a wrestling game. Love the pro wrestling games. Anyway, but yeah, man, that intrigue, it's never been higher for me, bro. I mean, what I mean by that is in the grand scape of college football. Yes, Notre Dame, of course, but I'm saying I am as fascinated about the future as I've been in a long time. That's a really cool feeling to have, man. Is I always look forward to college football, John, and I'm looking forward to it even more now. And I don't know that a couple of years ago we were sure that this was going to be the thought. It might be, God, this game's gotten bad. I just don't care as much anymore. I didn't think it was going to get to that degree, but I thought it was trending sort of that way. I don't feel that way anymore.
Well, dude, the reality is all the complaints about anything, watering down the regular season because everybody has a wider margin to be able to make the playoff, and rivalries aren't going to be playoff or in or out type games because people have more flexibility. All those complaints about watering down the regular season and those intense rivalry matchups that historically have dictated playoff access or not, we're going to complain about it, but we're all going to watch all those games anyways. And then the playoffs going to be must-watch TV, cannot miss, and we're all going to watch every minute of every game because we love it. And so there are going to be complaints, but we're all going to watch anyways. I know I am.
Well, yeah, that's what's so, again, the word is fascinating, because we're going to see how it's going to unfold. And I just cannot see this not working. I mean, there's going to be things we're going to want to tweak. There's no question. And what's interesting about it, John, it's easy to say now, oh, this part's not going to be any good. And because of this, when this happens, it's not going to care as much, but we would have if this. But I'm telling you, there's going to be things that we have not even mentioned yet. There's going to be aspects to it. And I'm sure there's going to be some bad ones, but there's also going to be some very positive experiences coming out of this. I'm talking about the experience as the fan watching the sport and the momentum of that energy around the sport. You know what I mean? Just that feeling. They go into the Irish tailgate parties, man. It isn't just the game we're all looking forward to. It's us talking about the game. It's us being around that vibe and that energy. That is what college football has, John, that the pros don't have. When people try to understand why are you a college fan more than a pro fan, it's not just about the best players and in the game.
It's
playing.
the feel.
It's about so much more
it's
than
the
that.
feel. That college football
atmosphere of a game.
The college football feel is so different than the NFL. And Rodney, maybe you'll agree with this. I'll take it a step further. It's one of the reasons I really don't enjoy moving big time college matchups to neutral sites, because you're eliminating what provides a lot of that feel. And that is a live, breathing campus with all that history and everything, all the traditions, the local traditions, how the people tailgate. That's why I don't like neutral site. Let's put it in a boring dome that's nobody's home. I don't love that. I like that feel, baby. I like that feel.
Yeah. John, you brought up, I'm so glad you said that, man, because I remember hearing your rant on, if they moved the game to Indianapolis or whatever. Dude, that was just like there wasn't like something someone read, or was it? Was it something someone read or heard on?
No.
Or is it just like, I have a thought in my head, what if this?
No, I think the guy genuinely wrote in the chat a question saying, hey, John, do you think Notre Dame would consider moving a home playoff game off campus? I think he was genuinely just asking, like, what are the odds of Notre Dame considering that? But I saw it, and then I went 0 to 1,000 and I landed on the moon. And you know what I mean? Like, that's what happened. I couldn't handle it. I couldn't handle it. I started seizing. I got the shakes. I couldn't handle it. It was too much.
Yeah, no, I don't. However, where I do see that as a possibility is simply just maybe in the playoffs itself, after that first home and home. The first round where you get. And by the way, I certainly hope they don't take that away with this next contract negotiation for the next 2 years after this one. So this one runs 2 years. It runs this year, 24 and 25, right? And then 26 on. It'll be a new contract, or is this year the 1 year of it, and then it gets renegotiated? Are we gonna? We need to continue that first round playoffs at home stadiums. We have to continue that. That can't, dude. That is going to be such a huge aspect. And I would almost be willing to say do it for the first 2 rounds, John. I would almost be willing to go that far.
Yeah. You know why?
First week,
Hear me out.
I agree.
Hear me out. See if you've thought of this too. Doesn't this mean that if you play well enough, win your conference and get a bye, your reward is you don't get a home game? Think about it, because right. Okay. So
John. Yeah. That is why I said that's great. You brought that up. That was why I said it almost makes more sense to make the buys happen after the first week of college football, because everybody, as a home, you're number one Alabama, and all those, those Tuscaloosan, crazy sports fans aren't going to. Oh, that'd be so great, man, to be able to party at your state. You're telling me that energy is going to somehow hurt college football in the grand scheme of money? I don't know, man. I just don't. That doesn't make sense to me. Why don't you just? It's going to infuriate me if that happens, John. It will infuriate me. Keep those games at each. I want to see for just one game. I get it. I actually do get it why they want to change it after that. Yeah. But that is why I think allow those teams that earn that bye to be able to, because it's still a major advantage. If you're number 1, 2, 3, or 4 in the country, it is a major advantage to be able to have that game host at home. You're playing the number 12 or 11 or 10 team, whatever it is. But it's like you still have an advantage, and then you get to have the bye decided after that when 6 teams are left. Yeah. You then pick, okay, who are the top 2 teams in the country? You see what I mean? I think because you're hurting that team that gets that bye doesn't get. I don't know. I just think that the fact you don't.
Well, okay, now wait. Okay, fine. But if I had to pick between guaranteed advancement to the second round with no risk of injury or losing, or having a home game so we could party and it's cool, I'm still going to err on the side of wanting the bye and not even having to risk losing an injury and moving to the next round. I do just find it interesting that the better you are at this, you don't get that reward is an interesting quirk that I don't know if it was thought about.
But here's, again, I understand it's guaranteed to the second round, but if you do it, you're still getting one way or another. There's going to be a bye occurring. So if you're good enough to get that win to get there in the first place, I don't think you're taking that much of a leap. But I still think it benefits college football overall. So I guess that's the thing. Whether you're the team that benefits or that team that's higher ranked and don't want to risk that first round. Well, it's like if that's the case, then why the hell are you? I mean, how are you the number 1, 2, 3, or 4 team in the country if you're that worried about?
Yeah.
Anyway,
It's going to be
beside the point, John. I just think that this whole year is going to be so fascinating because it's something different than we've. The whole flow of it and how it matters, and how, boy, it's going to be I'm going to have my eyes glued, man, to just the and my soul like connected.
The way
that feel of college football.
The way that we're going to live and experience college football is just going to change. It is going to shift. Things that didn't matter before may matter now. Things that matter before may not matter as much now. It's going to be one big trial, and I just need Notre Dame to be a part of it.
Scheduling, man. Scheduling is going to be real interesting. Again, rivalry games, where they're placed. I would just be shocked if they didn't start moving them earlier in the season.
Yeah, I think you might see that. And the big one's going to be if you move Michigan, Ohio State into the like October or whatever, people are not going to like that because it's going to take away from that build up at the end. But they don't want a repeat matchup title game like 2 weeks back to back.
Oh, John, Notre Dame's played USC in the middle of the season many times. That we've had some of the best, most classic matches. It's just because of again, that's tradition. Whether you play them in the middle or you play them at the end, I mean, those Notre Dame Miami clashes were always in October. Well, the ones we won were in October when they played at Notre Dame Stadium, and we beat Florida State. It was towards the end. That was like second to last game of the year.
Yeah, so but this is a TV argument. It's a TV argument. They don't want to build up Michigan, Ohio State as the last game of the year. And then since they got rid of divisions, if those are the two best teams, they play again in the next game for the conference title. They don't want to do that.
And by the way, that's one thing that actually matches up with what they don't want and also what the fans don't want. I think we would all like to see that game. If nothing else, if it's going to be rematched, you want to see a slightly different experience. If you already have that game, you're going to get a very similar, we just saw this, or you're going to get, because one team lost, that team come out a little bit more motivation another week later. But if you get I just played them in October. Now you got these two teams by the end of the year, it could be one team, even if they're the same, even if no injuries have occurred, you got one team who's done the best job of playing off the momentum of the fight. Anyway, it's just, that would be a much better way to do it. I'm sure that's where the scheduling's headed. Now we just sit back and wait and see.
Yeah. Rodney, good discussion, man. It's a changing world, but we're getting more football. And just, that's my total conclusion as we sit is, for all the complaints and all the things that aren't quite perfect and the questions we have about the playoff era, people are going to watch and it's going to be intriguing. And there's just more football that matters at the end of the year and everybody's going to get into it, man. Anything on the way out? Thank you. It's been a while.
That's it, man. You said it all, brother. Have a good one.
Have a good one. Take care. Thank you for the call, Dr. John. We'll do a couple chats and we'll see if the tin can and strings are lined up, hooked up today, baby. I'm calling in now. Marcus Freeman fails at Notre Dame football this year. Jimbo Fisher will be your next coach. Yeah, not in a million years. Somebody asked, what's Jimbo doing now? My guess would be I picture Jimbo pawning stolen jewelry. That's the kind of guy that I picture, like pawning stolen guitar equipment. I don't know what he's doing, but that guy is a walking lie. Literally, that is his existence. Jimbo, he is a walking lie. He is a snake with legs. One of my least favorite people in football, one of the people I respect the least amount in college football is that guy. He is a literal football snake. Cheat to get ahead, just do anything it takes. He's the worst. He's the worst. So I don't know about that. Yeah, the reality is he's on a beach with his money somewhere. Who knows? I don't know. I don't want to degrade somebody saying car salesman. I don't want to degrade their integrity, whatever amount that is, by lumping him into it. I'm sorry. I don't like him. I don't trust him. He's a liar. He's a cheat. Maybe this is my northern bias, but the whole my name's Jimbo and I got an accent, it kind of disarms people and it bugs me. Do you get what I'm saying? When your name's Jimbo and you got an accent, you talk like that, it kind of disarms you with like that Southern charm. I'm not falling for it. I'm not falling for it. But I see that as a real thing. Oh, you know, a good old Southern boy. I'm just little Jimbo. No, he's a walking snake. And if you didn't run into Jameis, he wouldn't have that bank account. If he didn't run into Jameis, he'd never have that bank account. That's the reason any of this happened. Having lightning in a bottle with that guy who was at the PGA Championship rooting guys on, which was weird to me. But they zoomed in and I'm like, that's Jameis. He was at the PGA Championship. I don't know. So I'll tell you this right now. If Notre Dame was going to lose to Texas A&M, I would 100% it would be to Mike Elko than this clown. At least I respect Mike Elko, and I know he's a good person. Like, not even talking the football stuff. I respect him, and he's a good person. I don't respect Jimbo at all. He is a snake. He literally, I can picture it in his mind. Oh, we got all this oil money. This is our advantage. We're going to go pay for play, buy the best players in the whole country, and we're going to short circuit this thing, shortcut it, and we're going to get what we need done. No, you're not. Totally blew up in his face. You got too many egos in one room, too many personalities in one room. Everybody's a me guy. Nobody's a team guy. I love the way karma came back and burned him. I love it. John, nobody cares who you respect. Well, I'm sorry. You can not care, but you're going to hear it anyways because it's my show. Right? You don't have to care, but you're going to hear about it. I'm not saying you got to agree or you got to care, but I'm going to tell you about it anyways. Dude, a lot of people lately are like getting kind of bossy or like telling me what to say or what to do or how to steer segments or whatever. Like, bro, you guys can all, I tell the Notre Dame people, start your own channel. You can talk about whatever you want. If you don't like it, I know, you're cool. You're here every day, man. I like you. But it's just funny to me. It's like, dude, you could go, oh my God, you guys are, now my own people are turning on me because some of you are putting little things on purpose to make me mad. We know each other too well. This is getting to be too comfortable of a relationship. You guys say like one word and I know exactly the whole thing you mean. It's getting weird. It's getting weird. Let's see if we have Dr. John now. There you are. Do I got you? No. Watch this. Let me try and call him. The last couple weeks, we've had an issue with Dr. John's phone. I don't understand. Let me try and call him back. See if it works that way. I realize this line.
You got me?
I got you. Maybe I need to call you every Wednesday. What the hell's going on?
No, I have no idea. I checked my phone. Everything was up to snuff, so I don't know what the heck was going on.
Me neither. But the last couple weeks we've had that issue, and I've called you, and it connects. So I don't know what's going on. But I'm sorry I made you wait, and I'm sorry I couldn't pop you on earlier, my friend. What's going on?
No, that's okay. Last week we had no problem. Two weeks ago I did have my phone screwed up. So
okay. Well,
here's what's going on.
As long as I got you, I'm happy.
Here's what's going on. I start this call earlier with 5 things on my agenda, and by the time you get to me, I got a dozen. So anyway, let's talk about that NCAA lawsuit. I don't think they're going to win that. I mean, I'm sorry. I don't think they're going to lose it. If they do, they're incompetent.
From what I've heard from people following this legally, they're saying it looks like the NCAA is probably going to lose. And John, I just don't understand how the math works. It would be like 20 to 30 million from all these major football operations retroactively paying out. And that's per year for a lot of years. Like I went out of my way to research this because I'm like, this sounds like weird and unfeasible, but they're looking like I don't know, man. But I'm not a lawyer and I don't have that brain width to be able to dig through all the legalities. But it's going to cost a lot of money to pay this back. And I don't understand where the cutoff is retroactively either.
No, I mean, how do you do that?
Yeah.
And if it goes to the Supreme Court, the NCAA is going to win, because here's why. We have a very biblically oriented Supreme Court.
Yeah.
And all they have to do is go to the workers in the vineyard parable, right? These guys agreed to it. They're the early morning workers. They agreed to this. Amen. That's what I say. So
yeah.
Anyway,
it's going to get
what I say means nothing.
It's going to get really, really interesting. And if this ends up with a big, like they're talking 20, 30 million, you're going to have real problems. Cause there's certain schools that are not going to be, there's certain schools that are not going to be able to operate like that at all. So I don't know, man, but I've tried to read about it and listen to some shows about it. And it seems really complicated. And most of the feel I have is that the NCAA is not expected to win this. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't either. Another comment that came up while you were talking about your writing.
Yeah.
And you said if anybody can read, they can write. As Waylon Jennings would say, wrong. I was a writer for 30 plus years in advertising. And at one time I was a creative director, and I would get resumes and letters from guys that wanted to be copywriters, and they couldn't even write a decent letter.
Yeah.
So writing ain't easy, bud.
Yeah.
I mean, it comes naturally to some people, but yeah, writing is tough work if you want to really communicate right.
Yeah.
And you're getting there.
Well, you're
getting there.
It's not my natural delivery like that's why it's healthy for me, because it isn't my natural delivery. This is my natural delivery. So it is, I like the challenge because it's just not my natural fit. So doing it challenges me. I like it.
Well, and I hope when you write something, you initially write it like your natural delivery. I mean, go for it and then just go back over it. Yeah. Anyway, that's my writing lesson for the day. Hey, here's good news on Dr. John front. Got my tickets for the game and also parking pass. And my supply of jalapenos arrived yesterday.
Oh, boy. Well, you enjoy that, and all the other people. You guys can enjoy it all you want, but I'm not eating it. But you enjoy it. And you know what? Oh, I want to meet your family. I want to meet your family, Dr. John. The intrigue has moved just past you now. I want to see your kids as well. They better be coming to that game, some of them.
Well, my 3 daughters will be there. One of my brothers will be there, and his daughter will be there. And so you will.
Well, you will meet your 3 daughters. What about the 3 girlfriends? Remember, how many of your girlfriends are coming with?
I don't even have one right now.
Sure. Yeah, whatever. Whatever you say.
I have a woman. I have an ex-girlfriend who's still a friend in Arizona, and we communicate every week.
I'm sure you do. Yeah, John's got a lot of friends in different states. I see how you're an international player, man. You're the original player from the Himalaya. I'm telling you, I know you're the most interesting man in the world.
You're freaking going to get me arrested.
Just take the compliment and run, would you?
Yeah, well, I will. I'll take it. Okay. You completely ignored one of my comments Monday, and I'm going to bring it up right now. I think you should parachute in with the football for that game.
Dr. John, here's the thing,
What?
man. All right, here's the thing. Number one is I'm not trying to ignore stuff, but especially without Pat here looking at the chat, things get by me. Looking at the phones, I can't keep up with everything. But I do vaguely remember that. Here's the issue, man. I went skydiving one time and it was enough for me. Like, I don't crave action in that way, tempting death, like by jumping out of a perfectly functioning plane. I went skydiving one time. I'm glad I survived it. And I feel like I'm tempting fate by doing it again. I have no interest in doing it again. I lived, I felt the rush, and I don't need to do it again. That's my official stance on skydiving.
Oh my God, I'm going to double down now. Your experience.
I
was going to arrange for a practice jump. There's a big athletic complex at Schaumburg West High School. Would be perfect for a practice run, but now you don't even need it. And I've got a number for a helicopter company. They'll take you right off from the tennis courts next to the north lot. Oh, come on, man. You got to do this.
I mean, you know what could change my mind on that? Like, I genuinely, the way I think, about tempting fate. And I willfully jumped out of a perfectly functioning plane at 12,000 feet above the Illinois skyline here. And I just feel like I don't want to test that too much. And I admit, I was nervous. This was not like on my list of things to do, but it kind of came to me for free as an opportunity with some coworkers, and we did it. But I admit I was nervous. I'm very iffy about tempting fate in certain ways, and jumping out of a perfectly functioning plane and hoping it works out is on the list, buddy.
Well, how about a helicopter?
What's it? I mean, it's a lot lower. Do I even have time to open my chute in a helicopter? That's a lot lower than a plane flies. I need some space. They said it was 5,000 feet it takes for your chute to fully open. So about 5,000 feet you fly it for it to totally open, and then you start floating. Skydive or scuba dive? Scuba dive. If I'm picking one, if somebody put skydive or scuba dive, I'm going to go with scuba, even though I don't like that either. But at least I'm not jumping out of a plane. I'll manage the scuba.
Okay, well, let's just agree. Let the idea percolate a little bit, okay?
All right.
We'll move on to something else.
Wait, I never finished. Right. I never finished. What would change my mind is I'll do anything for this brand. Dr. John, that's where you get me, because I'll do anything to promote this thing and make a big deal of it. That's the one angle you're getting me on, is I'll do anything for a good promo for this operation here. That's the one thing that you could get me on.
Oh, we get that chute. You coming in and it says "Always Irish" on that chute. Wouldn't that be something?
Oh, that'd be great. Just watch me misjudge it, Just watch me misjudge it and land in the toll road, and everybody. And there goes John. There goes John. He miscalculated the South Bend breeze. He's on the toll road, folks. Bam! There goes John. I can see it now. There he goes. Right. There he goes.
Hey, I got a couple of questions for you. Well, first of all, a comment. At the end of Monday's show, you were just having a blast. You were having fun. I thought, man, you have found your niche. And that is just, most people don't find that groove like you have. And I got to hand it to you. You took a giant leap, and it's working out great, I think.
I appreciate that. I genuinely mean this. Since I was in grade school, the only thing I ever wanted to do was sports talk radio. That was always, I grew up in Chicago, and that was a big part of my childhood, and dad listening to the radio, driving around town. It's the one thing I've always wanted to do is sport. That was it. It's always been like my thing. And I always thought it would be a good fit for me. So thank you.
Yeah. I just, it bothers the heck out of me when these guys are trying to push your buttons, but then
it's a part of the
as
deal.
you get older, your skin gets thinner, I guess.
It's a part of the deal. Hey, wait, Mikey Pulls
I know.
Mikey Pulls, he says, Dr. John needs a Cialis NIL deal. We're going to get you some big money, brother.
Yeah, right. Anyway, Big Ten.
Yeah.
How do you cut a school out of a conference?
I guess you go to you go to Rutgers and say, you're not making us any money. We're done with you. Like, I need to see what the contract looks like. But I feel like that. I literally, there's talk about it's going to start being a problem to keep teams that don't pull their weight or bring any value in when all this money changes. And they're saying you could just relegate them to whatever lower league comes next or whatever and go, you're not bringing us any value. You're out. But you got to look at the contracts.
Yeah, because there's got to be a monetary clause in there, I would think. So.
Yeah, I don't know.
As far as that
it's cutthroat.
There must be. Yeah, well. Regarding Notre Dame in the Big Ten, for crying out loud, we already have a foot in the not a foot. We have a skate in the door.
Yeah, it's.
You follow that?
Listen, man. Yeah, I did. That's a good one. That is a really good. I wonder if everybody picked up on that right away. That's smooth, Dr. John. I'm going on. That was really good. I like that. I'm going on. When I get done here. In a little bit, might have to finish a little early. Actually, I'm doing an interview with one of the college huddle people, and they're talking about the Big Ten and where would Notre Dame go if they were in this and that. They have one foot in the Big Ten. If they ever need to transition, they're going right into the Big Ten, no problems, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. It's that simple.
Where I wouldn't care.
It's that simple. Yeah. People are talking about, what about the SEC? What about the ACC? No, none of that. It's the Big Ten. It's right in front of you. All you got to do is look at the way everything is lined up already, and it tells you when Notre Dame has to make a move, it's the Big Ten, and everybody's going to win. And their value goes up, and then Notre Dame has the security of all the things that come with being the Big Ten and all that. That's what it's going to be, and I really don't see much leeway.
Well, there was a day it would have bothered me, but I changed my tune about 12 years ago when a classmate just pointed out the money thing. Yeah, it's crazy. So,
and that would be what would force it. Yeah. The money would be a main point of this. Also, what happens with the ACC? I'm still bringing that up. If they fold or their best few teams want to leave and join the SEC or whatever, if they fold, Notre Dame needs to find a home for all the Olympic sports and all the other non-revenue generating sports. They have an obligation in Title IX obligations and everything else. They're going to have to find a good home. And it would be the Big Ten.
Oh, yeah. Would have to be the Big Ten. Regarding the third year for Freeman.
Yeah.
This is a totally different animal than the other coaches had, because now you can go 12-0 and now you still got to run the gauntlet. So
yeah,
it's a totally different animal. And it's going to be exciting. And I really think I would go on the over on the 10.5. So.
Yeah, it's just, man, but when you say that, Dr. John, my mind goes right to A&M. It is really hard to pick 11-1 if the 1 is in August. There is so much hinging on that moment. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. It's going to be a long summer thinking about it.
Yeah, it is. But you know what my prediction was? 24-3.
Ooh, baby. That's a good effort.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good defensive effort.
And that 3 is only there because the universe is out to get me. They're going to kick that field goal in the fourth quarter and ruin my day.
I'm telling you what, if Notre Dame won 24-3, you're not going to have any complaints from me. And I never say that. When do I not have any complaints?
Yeah.
But that would do it. So it's a big moment, Dr. John. And I need Notre Dame to host a playoff game. I need Notre Dame to host a playoff game. Even at 10-2 and you squeak in and you got to go play somewhere on the road week 1, that's a way to go. One and done. I'm not looking for that. You got to I want that home game against a group of 5 team in the cold. That's Notre Dame's easiest entry into this venture.
And you've got to be sitting next to me for that game.
Oh boy. What a moment. That is going to be, Dr. John, that is going to be history, man. It's going to be literally a big moment for the history of this program and opening up a whole new world. And it being on campus would be a big deal.
Okay, I got 2 quick items, then cut me loose. Is Angela Rudiger by birth or marriage?
Angela's dad is Rudy's brother.
Okay.
Yeah,
Got
and
it.
you know how many brothers there is. There's too many brothers. So one of her dad is one of Rudy's younger brothers. That's the deal.
All right, got it. Last thing. Have you seen the performance by the High Kings at the commencement last Sunday?
I don't think I did.
You've got to go on YouTube, look for Glorio for Notre Dame at the High Kings. I mean, it is frickin' amazing. Song they wrote just for Notre Dame guys. And I played it. My 2 daughters that live here played it. And all 3 of us were crying. So, but
I'll
you
look
gotta
that
take
up.
into account. You got to take into account, John. When I watch Rudy, first opening scenes with that Irish music, and I get misty-eyed. So
anyway. There's a lot of little points in that. You know what gets me? A weird little part of that movie that gets me that way, Dr. John, on the way out. When he arrives at Notre Dame overnight, taking the bus, and the guy says you could talk to a priest. He's walking along the lake, and they start playing the music, and the sun's just it's still dark, and they move the camera away from that tree branch, and it shows the dome for the first time, and him walking around the lake. That one always gets me. The way they dramatically move that camera to reveal the dome. There's a lot of little stuff in there that gets me. Thanks for the call, man. I love you being a part of this to the extent you are. I really do.
Well, I love your show. And I love being a part of it too. Even though there are a few guys on that chat that upset the old guy, but that's part of life.
I know it comes with the territory. Hey, have a good day, man.
You got it.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you.
Hey, love you.
Yep. See ya. Love you too. Bye. Who would have thought, you guys? Whatever this has turned into is wild, man. Like, it's just on the surface. It's just me and Dr. John, and it's just like, yeah, I love you too, and nobody bats an eye. Like, it's just the ecosystem we have here it's unique. It's unique. A&M will be practicing outside. Most of them grew up playing in Texas. Can I ask this? Let me ask this. Follow me here, people. It's a different kind of heat. 773, you're coming up. It's a different kind of heat in Florida. Like, it really is. It's a different kind of heat. I'm not joking when I say maybe just practicing outside in South Bend in the regular August heat or whatever isn't good enough. A part of me is wondering if you need to bring, that inside practice facility now, not the Goog, but the actual, like, with the clear windows, and they go in there and punt and run. It's like a half a field or whatever, that little building, whatever the hell it's called. Maybe you need to go in there, close all the doors and windows, make sure you have no air conditioning, and then pump in a ton of noise. music, just white noise of a crowd, whatever you need to do. Maybe Notre Dame needs to practice some like that. And you get all 100 guys running around in there in the humidity and whatever, and it's going to fog that place up, create that humidity where it's unbearable. Maybe you need to do it. Maybe you need to do it because you need to be ready for this moment. And the last thing this program can afford is running out of gas because it's hot in Texas. Like, I totally understand the challenge that is, and how guys could lose a bunch of weight running around and you're carrying all the equipment. I understand all that, but this is the environment you're going in, and you got to be mentally tough and navigate it. So I don't know. And here's the other thing, man. I realize that the sun's going to be going down when this game starts, and that's going to help some of that direct sunlight and all that kind of thing. I'm just asking to prepare for, here's what I always think. I would rather over-prepare than under-prepare. Does that make sense? Like, I would rather we over-prepare, so then when you're in the moment, you're like, oh, this isn't even as bad as what we practiced. And then think about what that does to your psyche. Think about what that does to your psyche. If you prepared in such misery, then when you get to the moment, you're like, oh, this isn't that bad. I love that. You know what it makes me think about? Like the 85 Bears. The Bears offense had to go every day against the Bears defense in practice. By the time they got to the game was easy because it wasn't against our defense. Ditka had to tell the defense, can you guys tone it down? We need to get some work in, and you're killing the quarterback on every play, and you're hurting everybody. Can you slow it down to let us get a couple plays in? And then when you're used to that, when you get in the game, you're like, this ain't nothing. We practiced and stuff tougher than this. Anyways, double OT loss at Texas and Austin. That game was really stupid. Can you have like a thing called a defense? Totally offensive. Just absolutely insulting beyond belief. Look at all these Gatorade experts out here. Stay hydrated and you'll be fine. Well, it's hard to stay hydrated when you're sweating all day. That Texas game at Texas was an absolute affront to the concept of defensive football. Up and down the field, up and down the field. Ooh, play defense. Play defense. And you know what else is stupid? How come everybody's back right when they beat Notre Dame? Miami beats Notre Dame in 2017. Oh, they're back. They weren't back. They were not back. We were just less back. Same thing for the stupid Texas. Oh, hook them. Hook yourself. You ain't back. It's just that we were less back. We're back. Oh, Notre Dame's irrelevant. Then why does one team beat them and all of a sudden they're back? Didn't Blake Fisher almost not make it through the Florida State game? I don't know. Wasn't he a true freshman starting? Yeah, man, that was a moment. True freshman, and that's your start? Didn't he get hurt? We are so back, John. Yeah. I'm just saying, man. Every time you beat somebody, then it's like, oh, we're back. We beat Notre Dame. We're back. And so it's like, you got to pick your spots, though. Because you can't say Notre Dame sucks, like a bunch of people that hate Notre Dame always say Notre Dame sucks. But then if somebody beats us, you're back because you beat us? Doesn't that only, if we're being philosophically consistent, doesn't that only apply if Notre Dame's good and then you beat them when they're good, that would prove you're back? You can't simultaneously claim Notre Dame's never any good or not elite, but then if you beat them, it's a big deal. You don't get to have your Notre Dame hatred both ways. Pick a lane. Pick a lane. Can you do that Oakham thing? Why is that hilarious? Ooh, whatever. Isn't that what they do? Whatever. Ooh, horns. I am going to tell you this. You know what makes me mad about Texas football? Here's what makes me mad about Texas football. They might have the coolest mascot in the whole country. I love that thing when they look over there and it's just a big old beef. I love that thing. I like animals way more than I like people. Way more than I like people. I like animals. We relate. I love that cow. I just think he's cool. I just do. LSU's got that tiger, whatever it is, but they don't let him loose. That's the problem with I like that tiger LSU got, but he's in a cage in a zoo somewhere in Kelly's backyard. I want that thing out there. Get that thing on the sideline, roaming the sidelines. I want to see that tiger out there, not locked up in a zoo. Get that tiger out there. Not, oh, he's in a cage where you can walk by him at campus. I want that thing on the sideline. I do remember that when the cow went after, when they were playing Georgia, and the cow went after the dog or whatever. That was cool. BK will free the tiger next. Yes, I did it again. I don't mean to bring up Brian Kelly, but Brian Kelly's stuff came up. The tiger didn't have anything to do with him originally, but that's what he's gonna do. That's what he's gonna do. He, just like he did the eagle, he's gonna release a rehabilitated, injured Bengal tiger out into the wild, just like he did that dramatic eagle release. He will raise you up on eagle's wings. And there's Kelly, and he personally fed the baby eagle a bottle because its mother died in the wild. And Kelly nursed him back to health. He will raise you up on jet ski wings. Oh my God, this show's so dumb a lot of the times, but there's nothing I'd rather do, bro. There's nothing I would rather do. Oh man, you think this is some twisted fetish BK has? No. It's the act of trying to look like a normal guy or one that cares about animals or whatever. Give me a break. Goolsby, yeah, John, sing it again. Goolsby gave me a hard time. He mentioned I heard you were singing Frozen. What's the deal there, John? Like, I'm sorry, man. Things just come to my brain and then I rhyme them and I sing them. Let me check something. $5 holler. Mikey pulls. Hey, man, I appreciate that. That's beer money on that second bachelor trip, man. Thank you for that. Other than Frank and World War II, has there been another ND coach that had to deal with what Freeman's dealing with? NIL, portal, realignment, all of that. I think you could argument in a lot of ways. I think you can make an argument it's harder than ever to recruit to Notre Dame. It was already hard. And now you have all these additional hurdles and pay for play and NIL and all the stuff going in that. I think you could argue it's pretty hard. And the way you got to do it is you got to work your ass off. There's no shortcuts. If in the current landscape, 773, I'm coming to you, I promise. I'm pretty sure you can make the argument if you don't have a coach working and grinding the way Freeman does, Notre Dame falls very, very behind very, very quickly. That's something no one wants to think about or whatever because you want all 5 stars and so do I, and we're worried about the recruit, whatever. I'm telling you, if you don't work your ass off in this current dynamic, you fall way behind if you're Notre Dame. And that's something Kelly, just because of the timing, it's not right or wrong or his fault, whatever, the timing, that wasn't even really an issue for Kelly at Notre Dame. We would fall way, way, way further behind now if Kelly was doing it the way he was doing it with the new problems, the new challenges. Unbelievable. You would fall behind. This is you got to grind. You got to grind. Takes a lot of work. Commander Luke doesn't want to hear excuses. I'm giving you realities. These are not excuses to not reach your goals. They are realities of the challenges Notre Dame's facing to reach their goals. Those are not the same thing. It's not, I'm not saying it's hard, so it's okay to not do what you need to do. I'm just saying you need to acknowledge there are modern realities and challenges to this that add levels of complexity to Notre Dame's operation and more ingredients in the cake if it comes out good. There's more things you got to consider. Ohio Podcast, good to see you, brother. Good to see you, E. I'm working on something else for the group too, by the way, man. I like it. I got ideas rattling around in this brain. But Commander, I can always rely on you. I can always rely on you. Look at this. Can we get a Mike McDonald next? What song are you thinking? Like, are we doing Doobie Brothers? You don't know me, but I'm your brother. Or are we doing like, I keep forgetting we're not in love anymore. I keep forgetting life with Kelly was a huge chore. What are we doing? You got to give me a Michael McDonald era. You got to give me a Michael McDonald era. I prefer the original lineup to the Doobie Brothers, the hard-rocking Tommy Johnston-led Doobie Brothers. That's my Doobie Brothers era I prefer. But Tommy did too many drugs in the mid-'70s, and they needed a lead singer to keep the band afloat. And then they went and got McDonald to come over from Steely Dan. But yeah, you got to let me know what era we're working with. You got to let me know what era we're working with. My ears are bleeding. Yeah. I'm telling you, bro, Steely Dan's a vibe. Every once in a while, I'll get in a Steely Dan type of mood. That is a vibe. Those dudes were funky. Like, those dudes were funky, and I love it, man. Commander Luke. Oh, boy. Martinez, Johnny, you're my boy, Blue, but let's stick to the podcast voice, buddy. Commander, see, this is what you do if you wake up every morning trying to be a troll. Is it true what they're saying about Pat being ticked off? No one would say that to you, number one. Pat's got a lot going on at home. A few Saturdays ago when Pat jumped on, he kind of jokingly referenced his wife had an accident making dinner and like cut her hand. It was like a bigger, serious thing than I realized. And she's not able to do a lot of things. And Pat is dealing with all the kids and everything. And there's like, that was a lot bigger of a deal than I realized. Andy has work stuff going on, and he let me know he was going to be AWOL for a while. He's just got a lot going on there. Renee, you got a great yelling voice. There are different levels to it. I want to hear John sing like Michael Jackson. I got to tell you, dude, PYT, that's my jam. Wedding PYT, man. Wedding PYT. I am telling you what. Again, you give me about 7 Miller Lights and put PYT on at a wedding reception. I cut more rugs than a guy that works at a carpet store. You have no idea. I'm out there slicing and dicing. I'm out there with the bride's grandma. We're cutting rugs. I'm handing her off, grabbing somebody's aunt. I mean, I'm all over the place. You never know what's going to happen. It's unpredictable. But I hear a beat. I move my feet. That's just the way it goes. J Carr. I have a very steep golf swing. It's just my natural swing. When I hit a pitching wedge, I'm taking an 8 or 9 inch divot beyond the ball, Not that I chunked it, like a divot the right way after impact, right? And I'm always taking an 8 or 9 inch out of it. I'm just very steep with my contact. And I tend to take long, huge divots. Every time I go pick one up, I turn it around and I'm not going to finish what I say, but I go, oh, hey, guys, I found this from the 70s. And then I do an inappropriate gesture with it and then put it back in the ground. If anybody picks up what I'm saying there, it's funny. And if you don't, I'm not going into more detail. I'm going to stop this discussion right now. 773, you're talking to me. What's going on?
Hey, John, how you doing? It's one of the Big Ten brothers.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, it's funny you stumbled across something that was interesting. I don't know if you know why you said it, like if you really realize why you said it, or you just stumbled across it because you like Marcus Freeman. But to the Notre Dame fans out there, they better get used to coaches like Marcus Freeman, because it's not the guys. When me and my brothers played, George Perlis, Hayden Fry, Barry Alvarez, those guys, they wouldn't make it today. Kelly's on his way out. I don't even think he realizes he's on his way out. With the portal, NIL, everything that's going on in college football, to be able to keep up with all that and run around the country and recruit, you can't be 68 years old anymore.
Yeah.
You won't be able to keep up. Marcus Freeman is the future in coaching college football.
I tend to agree with you. I believe this is going to more and more turn into a younger coach's game with energy, with a mindset that they're from a generation where there's no resentment towards the power, the increased power the players are getting now with NIL and their own finances and what they could do. I really do think it's going to become a young man's game. Chip Kelly is a guy like I don't need all these problems. I'm just going to go coach some offense and not have to deal with all those big picture problems. I genuinely do think it's going to become more of a young man's game, except for maybe a couple places at the top where it's kind of taking care of itself with, they have things really rolling at the top level. Everything else, young man's game, energy. I agree with you. A modern concept that matches up with how these kids think. That's how I see it too.
Yes, it's interesting. Like you just watched interviews, like you said, with Chip Kelly. He got out of UCLA. He just threw his arms in the air and said, "I'm tired of this stuff. I just want to coach an offense. Let me coach an offense and leave me alone. I don't want to hear about NIL. I don't want to hear about transfers.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear about portal. I don't want to hear about my star quarterback needs more money. I just want to coach offense." And Kelly, I seen an interview with him a week ago that he said, "No, you know what? We're not going to buy players. We're just not going to go down that road. I don't like the portal. I don't like developing players and then they can leave for more money." And Saban left. So you can see that these guys that are in their 60s, early 60s, late 50s, early 60s, they're all heading towards the door. What they'll do is they'll become coordinators and stay there. They'll just become offensive and defensive coordinators and say, "Leave me alone and let me coach my 11 guys."
Yeah,
and I don't want to.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think that is a trend you're going to see more of, is the older guys knowing I don't have the energy or the drive to want to do this to the extent you need to really get where I want to go. I think that's probable. And then they could go be analysts. You could go do the Chip Kelly thing. You could go sit on an ESPN booth and be involved in the game and still have your voice heard. I am predicting it's going to become more of a younger man's game. I just think that's where it's headed because of all the modern thinking and the way everything's going. There's so many more requirements of a coach. There's so many more things you got to do and do well than there ever was before to put your team in the right position. It's a lot of running around.
Yeah, you have to, like Freeman came in at a perfect time. If he can get this program to where he wins 11 and 12 games, he'll coach for 30 years because he came in right when this stuff was, that's all he knows.
Yeah.
He can't look backwards and say, "You know what, I want it to go back to the way it was." Like if someone were thinking about that, Urban Meyer's a great coach. Obviously, he's a great coach. But if you were going to hire Urban Meyer, you'd have to think, boy, oh boy, he was coaching when none of this stuff was around. Do you think if we hired him, could he adjust to that today? I don't think Urban Meyer would want anything to do with today.
Yeah.
He was in such control of his program at every level that if he had to give up anything, that would be it.
Yeah.
I'm out of here.
He
only coached 5. Go ahead.
Do you feel like Dabo's fighting some of this too, because he's struggling giving up some of the unilateral power he had over everything, and he's like, he knows this is the trend, but it bugs him, and he's caught in between. I feel a little bit of that with him.
Yes, I think about watching him and how everything developed, just my experience in college football and my brother's experience, watching him and how fast Texas A&M fell off the table, it's almost like, obviously I can't get in his head, but how he approached stuff, it's almost like it got so crazy down there with NIL money and the boosters and everything that was going on down there, and the program just fell off the table. It was almost like he gave up. I'm not saying he gave up, but it was almost like he threw his arms in the air and says, you know what? Whatever happens, happens. If they want to get rid of me, get rid of me. He realized, you know what? I'm the head coach, and I have the least amount of control of this program.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous.
Yep. Yeah.
And that's why these guys, I don't think you can get these guys to come back and be head coaches again. They'll sit in the booth and hey, I'm part of the game. My voice is being heard. I'm still active in football, but I have none of the headaches.
Yeah.
That's where these guys are all going to end up. Hey, let me bring up a couple other points too, Dr. John, with the NIL. They're going to bring that. The NCAA is going to lose. They've already lost. Look, the reason we're in the position we're in today is because the NCAA lost. They already brought this to Congress, and they wanted what was called a cutout. And a cutout is this: can you make a special arrangement with us that we can keep these players with scholarships only? Because the NCAA knew that if you look at the history, the government's always going to look at it like, look, it's labor.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's labor, and you're going to have to pay the people that are your employees.
See, you're nailing it. You're nailing it. That's the whole concept. They think, the NCAA thinks, this is totally different. We operate in a totally different realm because of what we're doing in the student athlete thing and whatever, blah, 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 blah. But the court system doesn't look at that. Labor's labor, whether you're flipping burgers or playing football. That's the problem here. Isn't that like the main part of this? Is that all those courts are not looking at the kind of labor and then wanting to say it's notably different than every other labor. Am I right that that's like a part of the main issue here?
You're exactly right. If you look, I got friends that are attorneys, and I run stuff through them. Like, well, what do you think about this? They'll just go back and look at the labor case in 1963 when the iron workers brought it to the table for this. They go back and they compare. Here's the law for this. Here's the law for that. Here's the law. So bring it. That's why they brought it to Congress. You bring it to Congress, hoping that you can get a couple people, maybe a senator from Ohio, a senator from Florida, get them on your side. And okay, we'll do the best we can and try to keep these players as not professional players, that they're amateurs. But they brought it to Congress and they laughed at them and sent them walking and saying, "You're really here today trying to tell us that you want to control these players and that they don't deserve anything, that they haven't earned anything." They showed them the door. And the NCAA is just trying to hold on.
Yeah.
They know the NCAA has the same problem as the older coaches have. They have a bunch of old guys in their 60s, they're in their 60s and 70s, and they go around to the bowl games and they go to all the parties, and it's just they have fun. They play golf, they go to the Rose Bowl, they do the whole party thing for 2 weeks, and they want to hang on to that. They don't want to give that up. But what they don't realize, they just don't want to admit it, because I'm sure they're talking to attorneys, is when you bring it to Congress or the Supreme Court, they're just going to go backwards and say, okay, in 1963, the union, the pipe fitters brought this problem to and here's the outcome of that. And that's how they're going to look at it. They're going to look at it like it's any other iron workers, pipe fitters, electricians. They're going to look at it like they're employees, and here's how it came down for these guys. Here's how it came. And at the end of the day, that's why you see so many people saying they're just going to be in the union one day. They're going to be employees, and they're going to be, because of the decisions that have been made so far, that's the way it's going. You can see that it's going towards a bargaining agreement with a union.
Yeah.
They're never,
doesn't that complicate? I'm reading some of the reluctance to just make them employees and do it that way is you would have no control over them going to school. They would be there for football. Like, how do you employ them and then tell them to go to school? Like, this is really a mess. And I don't know how it's going to shape up. I just need Notre Dame to stay on top of everything and make sure that they're well positioned to be able to adjust what they need to navigate all this, because it's getting really tedious and it is a little confusing following these court cases, man. Like, sometimes I genuinely have trouble following some of the arguments, how deep in the weeds they are with all this stuff.
Yeah. It gets if you don't follow it every day, all of a sudden there's something new that they throw at you. Like, well, when did that happen? Well, a week ago that came up. A week ago, 2 weeks ago, this came up. You almost have to follow it every day to see what direction it's going in. But it's obvious what direction it's going in. Once they said, you know what, let these guys have NIL. They can make money off their names. Once they did that, the cat's out of the bag. You can't go back. You can't go backwards and say, you know what, let's start over again. Let's get rid of NIL. Let's get rid of the portal. Let's get rid of all this stuff and go back to the old days where they got a scholarship and then they had to, and then it turned into a military. The head coach was their general. Those days, the days of me and my brothers are playing, and that's how it was back then. The head coach had complete power over you. If they didn't want to renew your scholarship, they didn't have to renew your scholarship. If you weren't going to play, guess what? You were stuck on the bench at that school unless you wanted to transfer and sit out a year.
Yeah.
Those days are over with. And you brought up another interesting point. Like, you feel like it's not even like, you know, like, boy, don't you feel like they're students? Like, well, are they students if you can go into the portal every year and go to a new school every year? I mean, you realize when you transfer schools, not all your credits are accepted. Like, if you come from say Tulsa, I shouldn't bring up school, I shouldn't do that. But say you come from out of school and you try to transfer all your credits from Tulsa to Notre Dame, Notre Dame's not going to accept those credits. They're not going to, okay, that equals this equals this equals. They're going to say, and that's the problem with the portal sport, like Notre Dame and Northwestern and Vanderbilt, is they're still going to look at it like, well, the English or math that you took at this school isn't equivalent to what we consider. It's a lot easier than. So, and that's the problem you have with the portal is every time the kid transfers, he's going to lose credits, not gain credits. So it sets him back towards graduation even more. So when you say like, I don't even feel like it's about college anymore. I don't feel like it's about the student athlete. It isn't. If you can transfer, look at the quarterback that's going to at Florida. Where's he at now? Is he at Florida State? Or no, he's at the one kid that was at Washington State last year. He started out at Clemson. Yeah, I think he's at Florida State now. It's his third college in 3 years.
Yeah.
I mean, he's transferred 3 times. I would love to see how many credits he started out with when he transferred and how many credits he has now. He probably has less credits now.
Nobody knows and nobody cares. Nobody knows and nobody cares. You know, like, that's the reality of, hey, man, I appreciate the call. Anything on the way out? I'm going to get ready for my interview here for the College Huddle shows. What's anything on the way out?
One quick thing, because you had a caller that called in after me. He took what I said, he twisted it around. When I said that you have to be in the Big Ten or the SEC, you don't have to be in those conferences to go to the national. He was implying that I said you have to go to be in one of those conferences to win the national championship. I said you have to be in those conferences to know exactly where you stand at the end of the year. You have to play in the SEC and Big Ten, and if you're 12-0 or 13-0 in those conferences, you know you have a legitimate shot at the national championship. If you're in the ACC or the Big 12 and you're 12-0, what does that really mean? I mean, what does it really mean? I'll give you an example. Okay, me and my brothers, let's take Iowa, for example. People were calling me, congratulations, Iowa's going to the Big Ten championship, blah, 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 blah. And they were like, boy, you don't seem very excited about it. I said, what should I be excited about? They won the Big Ten West.
Yeah.
Northwestern won the Big Ten West.
And you knew what was coming.
I knew what was coming. I said, Iowa's got the worst offense in the Big Ten. Michigan's got the best defense in the Big Ten. They're 10-2, and they're going into the Big Ten championship. But I knew realistically, let's look at the Big Ten West. Okay, we have Illinois, we have Northwestern, we have Indiana, we have Purdue, we have Minnesota. wow, congratulations, you're the Big Ten West champion.
Yeah.
Now,
Well, at least that's over. At least that's over now. Now now it's a round robin, and you're not going to be able to lose 5 games like Northwestern and come out of that division and act like you're in a title game. What a joke.
But that round robin, that's interesting you brought that up. That round robin is going to clean that up. That round robin is like joining a conference. That round robin, when you take one thing to the days of Northwestern and Iowa being in the Big Ten championship are over because when you put all 18 teams up there and you say we're going to take the top 2 teams, those teams now will be 8-10 or 8-12. They'll be nowhere near the Big Ten.
Yeah, and you know what's gonna piss people off? You know what's gonna piss off Big Ten homers, people that have loved the Big Ten their whole life? When year 1 you end up with Oregon in the Big Ten championship, it's gonna piss people off. Like if that happens, which is pretty realistic, like not out of line, I don't think people are gonna like that. Where if a team that's an outsider comes in year 1, they're taking one of those spots, it's gonna be a wake up call for the rest of Big Ten. This is a different ball game now, and I think that's fully in play with Oregon. Maybe, I don't know.
You're right. No, Oregon can come in right now. The way I look at Oregon is, I think Michigan's going to have to rebuild. So I see Ohio State and Oregon playing in the Big Ten. Me
too. That would be my prediction too. Yes.
And that alone, even if Ohio State beats Oregon came in and did their job. Hey, listen, our first year we made it to the Big Ten championship.
Yeah, that's a big message. You're right. That's a good message to land in there early and let everybody in the Big Ten know, we're not just messing around here, a little lightweight West Coast team. That'd be a big deal. Domer Wap, thank you for the shout out. Really appreciate that. Anything else, man? I got to wrap it up.
All right, buddy. All right, I'll talk to you later, John.
Hey, have a good one. Thanks a lot. Good points on that. Take care. Not trying to be a jerk, cut anybody off. I just want to make sure I'm prepared for my interview coming up. All right. Well, sure enough, here we are. Almost a full 2-hour show. I didn't go over any of my thesis or any of the things on my notes. Didn't go over any of that at all. It's just this thing has a life of its own, man. And every day it just goes where it's going to go. Those of you with complaints about how I run the show, and I've seen some of them, can't make everybody happy. You can't make everybody happy, man. Like if I make one decision because a certain amount of people didn't like this or like that or whatever, then I'm pissing off other people. And then if I do the other thing, I'm pissing off other people. You can't make everybody happy. So we just do the best we can here. And I go with the flow, whatever mood I'm in. I'm sorry, but you can't even try and make everybody happy because you're always going to piss somebody off. All right, guys. Thanks for being here. The calls, the chats, everything. It's a good community. I'm ready. I'm ready for August. I'm ready for the ramp back up and to have more people involved, more people with the energy, all that stuff. Yeah, I'll let Pat know. I'll try and talk to him. I don't know where the interview is going to be hosted. I'm just going on it, but it's not my show. So I don't know if it's recorded and going to be edited and put up later. I don't know that. So if I find those details out, I'll let you guys know. But I appreciate all you guys being here. I do. It's a weird little community, but damn it, it's ours, and I love it. Thanks, everybody. Really appreciate it. Have a good Wednesday. Don't work too hard.